What is up, you guys? Welcome back. Welcome to Get Our Movie House. Just to start off October, I will be sharing with you guys my personal favorite horror remakes. Now keep in mind that this is my personal favorite, and I know that most horror remakes are not that great, but there are a few that I believe are really good. Even though I love these remakes, I'm not necessarily saying that they are in fact better than the original. All I'm saying is that they are actually really good remakes and that I enjoy them very much. These 5 movies are also not in any order whatsoever. There are a lot of them that I actually enjoy, but these 5 are my absolute favorites. 1, 2, 3.
Get a movie house!
Okay, so obviously the first movie that I want to talk about is The Fly that came out in 1986. Not only does this movie make my top 5 favorite remakes, but it does in fact make my top 10 favorite horror movies of all time. I absolutely love everything about this movie. It's directed by David Cronenberg and it stars Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis, and in my opinion this is definitely one of her better roles. What David Cronenberg did with this movie is he put his own specific touch and twist to it, but made it a lot more disturbing. Like with the original one, it was disturbing, but the idea was disturbing because we didn't really see much of the fly or much of the man turning into the fly. But in this remake, we clearly see Jeff Goldblum's character slowly turn into the fly, and that transformation is what makes this remake such a special film. We see the transformation, we see every single step and the differences that his body makes, and it's disgusting, it's disturbing, it's creepy, but awesome all in the same time. Everyone that talks about this movie immediately talks about the practical effects because they are truly amazing. In my opinion, it's one of the best that I've seen, especially for the generation that it comes from. I mean, in the 1980s, most horror movies had amazing practical effects, extremely believable, and they still hold up to this day. If you guys have not seen The Fly, I do highly suggest you guys watch the original, but please make sure you watch the remake because it is absolutely amazing. It's disgusting, it's disturbing, it's creepy, it's scary, it's suspenseful, and it's awesome, it's amazing. So yeah, do yourself a favor and watch this movie. If you haven't seen it, the month of October is the perfect time to watch it. Okay, so the next movie that has to be on this list is obviously The Thing, which I'm sure would make everyone's list because how can you talk about remakes without mentioning The Thing? John Carpenter's The Thing, starring Kurt Russell, is extremely memorable. You will watch this movie for the first time and there's so many scenes, there's so many moments in this movie that you simply will never ever forget. And just like The Fly, what makes this movie so good are the practical effects. I mean, they're so disgusting and believable, and the tension surrounding this area and surrounding these characters just takes everything to the next like suspenseful level. Just watching all of these characters argue and talk and have these conversations, you just feel the thrill and the chill and the tension and the suspense that surrounds the whole entire story. And the fact that they're all freezing to death pretty much adds more tension to the thrill of the story. There's so many moments in this movie where like it will catch you off guard and your jaw will literally drop and you'll be like, what the hell am I watching? And the practical effects is what creates that feeling while you're watching this movie. This movie is like hands down amazing. It's a lot of fun. If you guys are gonna watch this movie, which I highly recommend you do, the best thing to do is like set your air conditioner to as low as it can possibly go. Make sure it's completely dark outside and inside, and grab yourself a blanket and just sit there and watch this thing all the way through. Trust me, it works. For this next one, I know a lot of you are probably going to be extremely pissed off, and I know that the ones that are going to be pissed off are most likely original Halloween fans because yes, Halloween does make my list, and in case you were wondering, it's actually one of my favorite horror movies of all time. In 2007, we were introduced to Rob Zombie's version of the original Halloween, and I honestly enjoyed it very much. Whenever it comes to Rob Zombie movies, people don't normally take his style of filmmaking the right way. There's just something about his movies that are very gory and disgusting and disturbing, and even the characters are gory and disgusting and disturbing. But he grew up watching those gory grindhouse exploitation films, so whenever he makes a film, it sort of does have that vibe. That feeling does come across in most of his movies, or at least in most scenes, and that's what I enjoy from them. I mean, with the stories that he's trying to get across, because even though this is a remake, he did change a few things. But I feel like with the style that he shoots his movies, it needs to be that way, and I think it works. I honestly believe that this Michael Myers was a little bit more realistic, and I felt that the gore and the tension of a classic horror movie was in this version. I feel like this Michael Myers was a lot more threatening, a lot more suspenseful. It was so much thrill that came along every single time he was on screen. And a lot of people might disagree with me and might not see it, but every time I watch this movie, I just get the thrill. Like I'm watching a drive-in grindhouse film, because that's the kind of vibe that Rob Zombie has through this movie, and I immediately got it, and I love that. If you guys have not seen this and you have heard a lot of bad things about it, give it a chance. You never know. You might be one of the weird ones like me that actually ends up enjoying it. Okay, so the next one on this list goes to another movie that a lot of fans of the original don't necessarily like. But guess what? This guy does. 2003, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake is something I enjoy very much, and it does in fact make my top 10 favorite horror movies of all time list also. And before a lot of you get the wrong idea, I do in fact love the original. I mean, how can you be a horror fan and not enjoy the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre? I mean, what the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie brought to audiences was everything. It's everything that a horror movie should be. It has that grindhouse, independent, grainy, nasty film vibe to it that only works on horror movies, especially classic ones, and it just pulls it off very well. But what I love about the remake is pretty much the way they deliver the story, because the original does have a long drawn out moment towards the beginning, but with the remake I feel like there aren't any long drawn out moments. I mean, as soon as the movie starts, you just know you're gonna put yourself through like a very suspenseful thrill ride, because that's what this whole entire movie is. I love how throughout this whole entire movie they pay tribute to the original, they pay their respects, but at the same time they know that they are creating their own version of the movie. The way this movie is directed is great. I love the way this movie is directed, the camera angles, just the way it was shot, I absolutely love. But even with the amazing cinematography and with the amazing camera angles and just the way it was directed, it still has that grainy and disturbing and nasty vibe feel to it that the original also had. In my opinion, the 2007 version is exactly what a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie should be. If any of you agree with me, please let me know. Leave a comment down below letting me know that you too enjoy this movie. Remind me that I am not alone in the world when it comes to loving this movie. Last but definitely not least is Funny Games. It literally bothers me very, very much knowing that this movie is not as popular as it should be. It's a very suspenseful story of a father, a wife, and their son who go on vacation to their lake house. Shortly after they arrive, they are introduced to two young men who happen to be some of the nicest people you have ever met in your whole entire life. Sort of. They slowly work their way into the home and in a very disturbing way slowly start to mess with every single emotion that humans can possibly carry. It's not a bloody or disturbing or gory movie whatsoever. Everything that these two guys are making this family go through emotionally is disturbing, it's awful, it's disgusting, but very entertaining. The really cool thing about this remake is that the director himself actually remade his own film. His original film, also being called Funny Games, he wrote and directed the original one that came out in 1987, and then he decided to remake his own movie. The original is a foreign film, but he decided to wait 10 years and then remake his own movie, shot for shot in English. There are a few subtleties between the two, but I would say like 99% of the movie is exactly the same, shot for shot, line for line. But even though it's exactly the same, it feels fresh. It feels like a brand new movie because these actors deliver their performances to perfection. If you guys do ever get the opportunity to watch this movie, please do yourself a favor. It's extremely entertaining. Especially if you enjoy movies that are character driven, this is definitely one of them, especially because of the way that they interact and the disturbing things that are happening. Not only do I highly recommend this one, I highly recommend all 5 of these movies. I promise you, they're awesome. But yeah, you guys, those are my top 5 favorite horror remakes of all time. I love all of these for individual reasons, and I know there's other really good remakes out there, like The Blob. The Evil Dead remake was really good, and The Hills Have Eyes I actually enjoyed, even though it's a little creepy. And how can we forget Dawn of the Dead? Dawn of the Dead, if I was doing like a top 10, that would definitely be on the list for not only one of the greatest zombie movies ever, but for sure one of the greatest remakes ever. But yeah, you guys, thank you very much for watching. These are my 5 favorite horror remakes. If you guys agree with me, let me know. If you disagree with me, also let me know. Don't forget to let me know some of your favorite horror remakes of all time. Thank you guys very much for watching. Like the video if you like, leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you for watching Gary Movie House. Like, comment, and subscribe for more videos. Peace out, homies.